Hi creators, this is Monica at Academic Phoenix Plus, and welcome to an xGen tutorial on how to create hair. Whoosh, whoosh. In this video tutorial, we are going to cover how to create curves, which we'll use to be able to create guides, and that is going to be driving our xGen hair. It is a jam-packed tutorial, so let's go ahead and get started. If you're new to this channel, I post tutorials on a weekly basis. Software includes Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, and so much more. So if that is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing. So bring out your creativity, open up that software, and let's go ahead and get started in creating xGen hair. All right, this is what we have so far. She is almost done. The previous tutorials, when it came to xGen, I created this fur. And this is what it looks like in the render. If you want to follow along to create this, you're more than welcome to. I'll leave a link above. This fur uses interactive groom spline, which I have active here. xGen interactive groom spline, which is like grooming an animal. You're like brushing the fur and making some changes. This time we're going to be using something else, which is creating xGen using guides. In a previous tutorial, I showed how to use guides to create eyebrows and eyelashes. In this one, we're going to be using guides to create hair. However, the difference is that we're going to be making the guides with curves versus trying to massage the guides to match our needs. So it's a fun little trick. Let me show you how to do it. It's always better to show you than to talk about it. So the first thing you'll notice is that my character is in fact smooth because I wanted to get this nice piece of geometry. The other thing I'm going to do is double check to make sure that my edges actually have somewhere to go. So for example, if I double click on this edge, and then I go here and here, then where does this edge go, for example? So I'm actually going to press the number 1. And just to do a little cleanup here, I'm going to use the multi-cut tool. And I know it's going to give me a triangle, but I'm going to hide this piece of geometry eventually. So I'm okay with that. All right, so that edge has something to go. And a little more housekeeping. The edges do go all the way around. So if I double click, you'll notice that the edge goes all the way around. And to prevent that, I am going to delete these bottom faces. And the reason why I'm deleting these bottom faces is because I just want them to go up and down. All right, now that I've done the housekeeping for this mesh, let's go ahead and go to Edges, double click, and then we're going to go to Modify, Convert, Polygon Edges to Curves. And there we go, we got an edge. Now this may seem a little tedious as I go around, double click and click on the letter G, which is your last command. Bink. It's going to give you a lot of edges, and the more edges you have, the better you're off, because that means the more guides you have, the more the hair is going to follow the direction that you want. So we're going to select these guys here because it doesn't go all the way up. So click on the letter G. Again, we're going to go to Edges, double click. Now this one goes all the way here. So I'm going to deselect the ones that I don't need. So holding down Control, just go ahead and deselect what you don't need. And then it's going to look a little odd, but I am going this way. Click on the letter G. And if I need to, I can always right click and on the curve and choose Control Vertex, grab this one and kind of nudge it so that it's a little bit more straight. There we go. Select this one. This one doesn't have anywhere to go, so I'm just going to skip it and go here. G. That one has nowhere to go. So this one is going up and this one, G. Again, edges, I'm going to click this one and go up, G. Again, you can go in and change the mesh if you need to, or the control vertices. So again, I'm going to double click and do G. Going to go a little faster now because these are more straightforward. G, and eventually I'm going to end up with a bunch of curves. All right, now that I have all these curves, I am going to remove, isolate, select, and let's look at the actual curves themselves. If I click on, oh, that's interesting. I've got a unique looking one. Let's see what's going on. Oh, well, I'm deleting that one. I'm not sure how that happened. Okay, so let's see. Everything else looks good. That was a little fun one. All right, we now have curves. Next, we need to do a little bit of housekeeping so that this is ready for the xGen guides. The first thing I'm going to do is select my curves and deselect the geometry, I'm going to actually isolate select. I'm going to go to control vertex, but as you can see, it only selects one at a time. So instead I'm going to hit F8, which is component mode. When you look at a curve, you see the little square and then there's like a U. That means it's the beginning of the curve. And if you don't see that, such as this one, that means that this particular point is the end of the curve. And the flow of the curve is going to be very important for our xGen hair. So that means that I have to figure out which curves are pointing the wrong direction. And then I'm going to have to switch them. So let me select these little curves. I think I got them. And then I'm going to take a look at the outliner. And it looks like it's 1, 2, 4, 6, 13, and 14. And the tricky part is remembering this because I have terrible short-term memory. So let's see. I think I did it. Okay. I had to think about it. The next thing is to reverse the curve. So under modeling, under the pull down menu modeling, we can go to curves and it's very easy. You just select reverse curve and that's all it takes. So again, if I select all these curves, you'll notice that everything is at the beginning of this curve. Another thing I need to do, and I'm going to remove the isolate select here and hit F8 again, is that I need a piece of geometry that the hair is going to generate from. Now you would think it's this one. It's not. You actually want to make sure that it's a disc or some sort of geometry that's hidden so that it generates the hair from above. So what I'm going to do is create a disc and I'm going to bring it up here and I'm holding V, middle mouse and snap and scale it and make sure it's facing the right way, which is down. So let me go to my channel box and just type in 180 degrees and bring it here. Now for my sake, I'm going to go ahead and select these curves and the disc and isolate select because this should be right above them and it can be small. So let me put that there. And of course, don't forget to center the pivot, delete the history, freeze the transformations. Make sure it's hidden. You can always go to the attributes, Control A, go to Arnold and make sure primary visibility is off, cast shadows is off. All of this is off so that it doesn't show up in anything and it doesn't self shadow, right? So usually if you turn all those off, even if it's poking out, it won't render or cast shadows. It's pretty cool. Little handy trick. Select all my curves, deselect the mesh, hit F8, which is component mode. You can select those top curves and just kind of scale them in a little bit because I want to make sure the curves are actually inside. Take a look at the disc. Grab your polygons and just isolate select to make sure everything's aligned correctly. And you want to make sure that mesh is actually above the curve. So let's go ahead and place it around here. And I think we are ready. This is going to be the left hair. So left hair geo. I'm going to put gen for xGen geo. So left hair, can't even spell. Left hair xGen geo. And we are ready to go ahead and actually do xGen because all of that was just housekeeping. Now we're ready to move on. So what we're going to do is go to the top right in the workspace. We're going to choose xGen and we're going to create a new description. Again, I have my mesh selected. I'm going to call this my left hair description. Maybe I should put front. And I'm also going to call it the collection, right? So I keep it nice and separated. And we're going to be placing and shaping our guides. So let's go ahead and create. Now, I've done this exercise before with this file, so I'm going to go ahead and say overwrite and then create. Now that we have that started, the next part is that we need to tell xGen that we want to use these curves. So I'm going to select my curves, which again, it's in component mode, so hit F8. And then I am going to go to the utilities in this tab, and there is something called curves to guides. Select that and then click on add guides. And now you can see that we have guides. Now, if I try to render right now, so let me hide the mesh so you guys can see something. And well, there's nothing to see. And the reason why is because there's no hair attached to the guides just yet. But look at that. Do you have any idea how long it would take for me to go through and create a guide and then move it, ink another guide and move it? This was really fast. Let's go to primitives. We're going to add our density and you can see that we're getting some hair. It's really thick right now, but let's see what that looks like. And voila. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Just kidding. We got definitely some work to do, but it's working. And that's the important part. Let's take a snapshot. I'm going to save. And then next is about giving ourselves a ton of density. So I can go up to, let's say 1,000. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. And then let's work on fixing the hair itself. So right now the length is fine. It's the width that's really the issue. So we can go ahead and make it small and thin. And we are going to need a lot of it. So there we go. You can see that we're getting some nice thin hair. I'm going to add more. I'm going to move this to the side so we can see what's going on with the hair and the render. After that, I'm going to increase the taper because we do want the edges to taper, but you'll see that it tapers from the top of the hair all the way to the tip. So my taper start is going to start later. So it's actually thicker and luscious up here at the top, and then it tapers off. So again, what I'm going to do is go to the top, and we are going to be requiring a lot of hair. So I'm going to go ahead and add another 0 to this. So now I have 10,000 hair, and you can see that now it's starting to look like a nice luscious piece of hair, which is awesome. Doesn't look like Cora's hair, but it's looking like something. If I turn it around, you'll see that it follows the mesh. Now again, you guys can increase the taper. There is a little bit of control if you want to. You can play around with the length if you want it shorter or longer. And the fun thing is, like, you can animate this. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with this. So let me change that back to 0. I'm happy with the look. I feel like it's a little thick at the bottom. What I can also do is grab the guides, right? So let me see if I can grab a guide, and then I can actually elongate it, and that is going to impact some of the hair. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the guides and just stretch some of them, and that should help give a little bit of control over the size of your hair. On the preview output, make sure that in the output settings, you go to render and then you go to Arnold render. If your computer's slowing down because you have that many pieces of hair, you can reduce it. So if you want to, you can reduce the hair. However, when you render it, it's still the same. That doesn't change. It's just the preview. If your computer's slowing down because there's too much hair, you can always reduce it in the preview. Now, if you wanted to add more to your hair, so for example, if you wanted to give it a little bit of noise, you can. There are modifiers. So if you go to the tab modifiers, hit the little plus sign and grab noise, you can actually add a modifier to the hair. Let me make sure I've got my collection selected. Again, you're going to click on this, click on noise, and you can see that I can actually increase the frequency of my noise to my hair so it's not so perfectly smooth, and that's going to give it a little bit more personality to the hair. This is what we had before. This is what we have now. It's definitely looking a lot better. Let's take a look at the hypershade. I'm going to go to edit, delete unused nodes to get rid of any that I'm not using. And you're going to see that we do have a hair physical, which is what we're using for the fur. And then you're also going to see that we have another hair physical, which is what's controlling the hair. This is where you can control the hair. Let's do something crazy. I'm going to do purple and blue, and let's see what our hair looks like. And you can already see the effect. Nope, this window is getting really small. You can kind of see the colors over here. But for her hair is pretty dark, so she's kind of like a dark brown. So I'm going to go in and just give her a little bit of that dark brown. It's a very dark brown. So I'm going to choose that color. And I have a tendency to choose the same color for both. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, needs to go darker still. Now her specularity is really shiny right now because of the primary color. If you want to, you can reduce that by changing these colors. So you can see that now we're starting to see more of that color. It's also being affected by this highlight. So again, you have to kind of play around with the colors to get the effect that you want. So as you can see now, it's starting to actually look a lot darker. And I can always bring this a little bit more. It really depends what color you want. So if you wanted to, sometimes, whoop, that's a little strong, but you can actually add a little bit of color to the highlight. Totally up to you. Or you can always make it, that's really flat. Some people like to add a little color to it, so maybe a little brown color, but you can see that it kind of like multiplies it. So let's go ahead and make this a little darker. And then of course it's got a glitch, so we can make that one darker as well, and so on and so forth. And now we're getting this really nice looking dark hair. That is the basics of how to create hair using guides. And then you would repeat that to the other side and then all along here. So what I'm going to do next is stop talking. I'm going to do this one really fast as I can. And then I am going to do the ponytail. In the next video tutorial, I'm going to talk about how do you do this gigantic piece of hair. How can we paint curves on this so that I can use it to create xGen, which will be in the next video tutorial. All right, hopefully you learned a thing or two. If you did, please like and subscribe. That is your message to me, letting me know that you like this content and that you want to see more. please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this tutorial and other suggestions for other tutorials. I do read all of them. I may not be able to respond to all of them, but I do read all of them. And I really appreciate the time you take to comment. Please share my videos. If you know of an artist just like you that could use a video about xGen hair, then please share. That would be amazing. It would help me out and also the YouTube logarithm. So thank you for sharing. And of course, take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. There you will find free resources such as ebooks, 3D models, and so much more. While you're there, take a look at my e-courses. Those are deep dives into Maya, including modeling, texturing, lighting, and rendering. So take a look at academicphoenixplus.com and e-courses. Again, thank you so much for watching. One last question before you go. What is this background inspired by this hairstyle? If you know what that background is, go ahead and write the comment below and you might get a digital medal. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Keep creating and I will see you next time when we create more xGen hair. Ooh.